Okay, we've had the Somali reinforcement phase. We've had one roadblock randomly appear, and can't actually remember where it appeared. Oh, I think it was here. Yeah, and then we did SNA reinforcements, and we were treated quite kindly, I think. Of the four batches, there are four batches that appeared. We had a batch of 1, 1, 1, and 3. So, well, that's a total of 6 out of a possible 9. So, okay. Felt like we were getting off lightly, but and we've had some considerable we got things going on down here, because down here now we've got I don't know if they were there before, but I don't think they were. We've got 2 units of RPGs down here. We've got another RPG there, and we've got a technical has shown up down here. And yeah, it's over there, but as you look at it, it's only, what is that, 1, 2 in 2 spaces that could be there firing on our main street here. So yes, lots to think about. Let's see. So that means what we're doing now, of course, is we're deciding where the UN air support phase, where the heli support points are going to be spent. We can attack in 2 places, and we attack everybody in that location. So let's see, that technical we know could drive to here and fire to there, and we're not there, so we don't have to worry about it in the immediate short term here. We could fire on it because it's an attractive target, because it's got, always if possible, we want to target an area that's got 2 units in it, so we can try and bag 2 units. So we've got those 2 there. But the most important thing to fire on is these 2 units here, because they will, without question, attempt to assault here. And we don't want, although we've got good defensive units there, we don't want them to even get the chance to do that, preferably. So the first attack, helicopter attack from the H6 Little Birds, is going to be on the chaps down there in Armed Forces Road, and we want to roll high, I think we do, and we've rolled a 1. So, okay. So that means, let's see, where are we? 1, nothing, missed. Right, desultory fire, unfortunately, from those boys in the choppers. Okay, well, that's 1 batch of helicopter stuff done. And I got the impression from the rules that that is supposed to be pre-designated, because it said pick your areas and then roll your dice. It doesn't say in big bold letters anywhere, must be pre-designated, but I'm gonna play that it is. So I'm being tough on myself here, which I generally tend to do when I'm playing a solo game, because I don't want to make it easy for the enemy that the designer has taken all that time to program into an intelligent, difficult opponent, and I don't want to make things easier for it. So, okay. So then the other choice is, do we go for that batch there, because we could possibly take out 2 units and we would be pouncing on the technical, which are one of the most dangerous units in the whole engagement. Or another attractive target is these chaps here. They are not going to be able to do anything to us in this turn, because they are pinned, so they can't move and they can't fire at us. They can't assault the all-important main street there. But there are 2. They are close to us, and there are 2 of them in a single area, so we could, and they're pinned, so they're especially vulnerable. Alternatively, another attractive target, I suppose, would be the militia and the RPG here. They're not going to be able to shoot at anyone this turn. Well, no, they can actually. They can fire across the street at the Delta team there. Yeah. I really would like to be able to get rid of them while they've got their guard down. I'm going to go for them. Yeah, we're going to. Okay, choppers. We won't fire on that street. We won't fire on National Street. Let's see what we got. And we got a 4 this time, and I think that's going to do it, because if they were not pinned, they would become pinned with a 4. But if they're already pinned, they are eliminated. Splendid. So we got those 2 units. There we go. All right, they go back into the infamous opaque cup. And that is the end of the air support phase, and we're on to the Somali action phase. Okay, the first thing we have to move is the any technicals in play. There's a technical there. And as we can see, he can move one space and then fire. He doesn't actually have any targets, so he could move to here, or he could move to here. So if he moved to there, that would mean distance from there. How far away is that? It's 1, 2, 3. How far is it going this way? 1, 2, 3. So it's the same distance, so it's 50-50. So I'm going to roll, excuse me. If it's a low roll, it'll go up there. Yeah, it's a low roll, so he's going to move to there and doesn't have any targets. Okay. Next up, we do the RPGs. So can RPGs fire at anyone? And they certainly can. There's the RPG unit there that can fire across the street at the D boys. And let's roll that up and see what we get. Oh, that doesn't look good. No. They scored 8 and we scored 7. So, well, they beat us by a whisker, and so we become pinned. Yes. Okay, and they have taken their turn. So the next thing to do is there are no more RPGs that can actually shoot at us, so the next thing to do is to move the RPGs. Okay, so I'm going to say if we're trying to move him into a sensible, viable position where he can shoot at somebody, I'm going to move him to here, and then in the next turn he would be able to move to there. Okay, then we've got an RPG down here, and I don't see any reason why we should not move him straight down here, like that. Okay, I suppose we should roll. Should he go that way? Should he go that way? Let's roll, and if it's low, we'll leave him where he is. And it's high, so we'll move him, we'll make him hang a left instead, and he's going to go down there. There we go. Yes. Yes, so that's all the RPG units moved, and so now we come to the snipers. Okay, yeah, and as a simple memory aid to myself, there are only 3 sniper units in play on the map here, but I have marked them all with a big white 6-sided die just to get me through this phase. Because yes, it's very frustrating when the counters are somewhat similar, and they're very nice counters, but they are somewhat similar in some respects, and I miss them, so I will miss details. So there we go. So the first ones to do are the ones that can actually fire at somebody, and we have 2 situations. This chap here and this chap here, he's a reinforcement. He popped up out of nowhere. So yeah, now their priority is that they will fire at vehicles before they will fire at infantry. That is to say, any Somali unit that can fire will do that. He's somewhat, well, no, I mean, yeah, he can't fire. I've had a discussion with the designers, I think I mentioned, and no, he can't fire at the units that are riding in the Humvees, as we might imagine. So he's firing at the Humvees themselves. So he does have an anti-armor factor of 0. But he can still fire. He just has a factor of 0. And then the protective factor on the Humvee is the armor factor, as it's called, is 4. So let's try and, I don't know if I can keep that visible, sort of, yeah. So just pick one of those. Actually, no, we need to... if he was infantry, if there was a difference in the type of vehicles, he'd be firing at the one with the highest armor strength. And if he was firing at infantry, he'd be firing the strongest one. So let's have him fire at the strongest infantry, which is specifically the Humvee that's carrying the Delta team then. All right, we'll do that. Okay, otherwise we'd have to roll a dice to decide it anyway. So let's just get on with it. Right. Okay, so the Humvee there has got an armor factor of 4 as well, of course. So looks like we're all okay because the sniper has scored 2 in total. And in defense, the UN forces had 4 and 2 is 6. So clearly, no problem. Either it missed or it bounced off or something, or didn't go off. It was a dud or I don't know. Desultory fire. So he's fired. Okay, we can do that. And then we have the next sniper, which is this chappie down here. And he's as keen as mustard. And now he has, on the one side, he's got ranges he can shoot at. Actually, come to think of it, he's got ranges there he can shoot at. He can shoot at ranges there as well, across the street. And he can shoot at the Caesar here, okay, in Howlwadak Street. So we have 3 different possibilities he can shoot at. So we will go ahead and pick that randomly. Very easy to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, roll that up. Okay, we're firing at him because they're all the same value. If they had different values, he'd pick the highest value one. Right, so he's going to fire at these chaps in the street. And let's roll them up. Okay, so we're looking at the infantry factor, of course. And let's see, he has scored 2 plus 5 is 7. And we have a score of 8. So we managed to get away with it again. 'Twas but a scratch. So he's fired for no result. And then we have one more sniper. That's this chap way over here. And he's going to be moving in onto the action, I'm sure. So let's see, he could go 1, 2, 3 and be in the same space as them, or he could go 1, 2, 3 and not be in the same space. So he's going to go that way. That's a shorter route to get to the enemy. So I'm going to move him to there. And we've done snipers, and now we're off to S&A infantry. Okay, and I've marked our S&A units that can enter into combat. We've got others which can merely move. The most important one is going to be this situation here. So there's an SNA infantry unit there, Somali National Alliance, and they are going to assault down here into Howlwadak Street, and they go for the highest value. They're going to be assaulting the D boys, Delta team. And let's see what we get. It looks like we're okay, because the enemy has scored 4 and we have scored 8. And well, actually, whoever wins kills the other unit. It's all or nothing when it comes to assault. So the SNA, they go back in the opaque cup. Right, so that's that one done there. And then we've got some shooting down here. So they're going to shoot as they did. They're going to shoot at the Humvee that's got Delta team riding in it. We're using, of course, their armor factor, anti-armor factor, which is 1. So we'll add their score to that, which is a total of 5. Our defensive is 4, plus that is 7. So it's no result. So they fired, but to no result. Okay. And then finally, we have SNA down here firing across the street at the highest value target, which is the Delta team, the D boys. And off they go. They're going to be using their infantry factor this time, of course. And we can see at once that, no, it's at no effect, as you can see the dice over there. So there we go. No effect. Thank you. Desultory fire. And so now we're on to moving the remaining SNA units. Okay, there we go. I went ahead and moved the remaining. I moved the SNA infantry. I can't remember if I filmed that or if I did it off camera. But anyway, I moved the remaining SNA infantry that had not taken part in combat. So they're just closing in. And now it's time for the militia. So first we do the militia shooting or assaulting. And I've marked, as we can see, I've marked 3 of them we have to do in the sort of central area here, where we get to the junctions of National Street, Armed Forces Street, and the famous Howlwadak Street. This one here, right? So the crucial one, of course, is there's the militia here. I mean, they don't have much of a shot at this, but they're assaulting the Delta team, the D boys. And yes, they're keen as mustard, and in they go. And what do we got this time? Okay, well, the militia scored a grand total of 5, and the D-boys scored a grand total of 8. So the D-boys won, so that eliminates the enemy. All right. And then we have these 2 militia units here are going to be firing at the pinned D-boys here. Now, of course, the danger here is a very real danger, because if they manage to get a pin result on them, they would be eliminated instead, because it means, as they always used to say in the marvelous computer game Sid Meier's Gettysburg, it would mean that the boys have been hit awful hard. Right, okay. So it doesn't really make any difference which one I fire with first, does it? I mean, if you were a stickler for random, I suppose you would If I roll low, it'll be the upper unit. It's the lower unit. Right, it's the lower unit. It really makes no difference, does it? Anyway, no. Okay, but anyway, it's the lower unit, so we'll twist them to indicate that they're firing. And in they go. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it's going to be desultory fire, I dare say, because the militia have a total score of 6, and Delta have a total score of 10. Yes, so the fire was ineffective. Right, so we get rid of that. And then the final militia unit firing up there. Okay, and nope, quite clearly, no result there. So they have fired to no effect. Okay, and then it just remains for me to, probably off camera, I'm just going to move in the remaining militia units that have not yet fired. Okay, yep, so they've moved in. There's even this chap down here, even those chaps down there that are moving in. So they've squeezed in a bit further. And now it's time for the Somali recovery phase, where we flip any pinned units to the unpinned side. But we don't actually have any Somali pinned units at this point in time. So we move on to the UN action phase. Okay, so I think we're going to see a lot of movement here on the part of the UN forces. Right. So what we need to do is we need to get these 2 units out of here so that these 2 units can come in here. That would be one action, and then they will load up the prisoners. The prisoners have a passenger volume, as it were, size of 2. And they have to be transported with UN forces. So because a Humvee unit can hold 3, we can put that one and onto either one of these Humvees when we load it up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is move these out of the way. And I think this Delta team here, let's see, it's pinned. So by the end of this action phase, it will be recovered from being pinned, yeah, but it's got all this lot facing it. So, right, I think we're going to put a Delta team there. There you go, the D boys. And then these Rangers are going to go here. Let's see, yep. Those chaps being there, I think they would be doing, let's see, there's only 2 units here. So the force is coming from this, as it were, area rather than from this area. So at the same time, I've got to keep some kind of an eye on this lot down here. So if he goes in there, okay. So far so good. So he can't go in there because that street's going to be jammed up already. He could go out into the street, or he could move up here to double up the firepower up there. I think I like him where he is, so I'll leave him there for the time being. Yeah, and then we'll move. I think I'm going to put them down there. Turn the corner. That was one action to get into there, and then one more action to load up the prisoners. I think I'm actually going to put the prisoners on the bottom so I can see who's on top. Here we go, and they're going to turn the corner and do the same thing. Okay, and those chaps, I believe, are just going to stay where they are. They're out of harm's way at the moment. They can be fired upon by the technical if a technical comes down to here, which it almost certainly will, I would think, and then the technical could either fire on them or on them. But they are... I'm happy with it. Okay, without going into too much detail. Right. Let's see, the action for the Delta team is going to be to recover it. So they stay there and they shake off their pin. All right, so always remembering that they haven't done anything yet. Then it's a question of actually opening fire, because they can open fire. They can fire at the snipers across the street, yes. Let's see. I was looking up there, actually, because that Humvee, if there was somebody in there or there, they could fire on them, or somebody here or here or here or here, but nobody there. Right, so he can fire. I'll go ahead and mark that. It's kind of big and ugly, I know, but it helps me remember for the time being. Oh, we've only got 2 more units, right. So we've got Delta and Ranger Chalk here. So they can fire... Oh, and Caesar. So they can fire across the street at Sniper. They can fire International Street. Both of them. Actually, all 3 of them can fire International Street. Those 2 can fire at the militia here, or could fire across the street at the SNA. Let's think about that. Well, let's start off with the Ranger Chalk down here, because it's a no-brainer there, because he can only fire at the one thing. Unless, of course, I decide, you know what, I'd rather move him. But no, I'm going to fire with him. He's going to fire across the street at the Sniper there. Let's see what we got. And looks pretty good. We have scored 8, and he has a score of 4. So we've doubled him. So he has been eliminated. Okay, that's the Rangers doing their bit. Okay, Rangers lead the way. And so next up, we've got, last of all, we've got these 2 units here. And I think we would want to go for these chaps are getting a bit too close, so we'll have Delta. Actually, we'll have Caesar. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly, but it seems like the logical way to say it. Firing at them. So let's do that. And ooh dear. Now, yes. Well, no, we're less than the enemy, so the fire's ineffective. Yeah, this is not an assault. Yeah, because they completely outscored us on that one. But yeah, the fire's ineffective. Okay, so we'll have the D-boys fire at those militia there instead. Or rather, in addition. All right. And this time we have a total of 7, and they have a total... is right, isn't it? Yeah, we have a total of 7, and they have a total of 4. So we haven't doubled them, we have merely pinned them. So there's our... let's see, they've moved and they're pinned. Not that it makes any difference, right? Okay, so then we got that. Delta team has done its thing. And then we could either, with the Rangers, we could fire at them again and try to eliminate them. Or we could fire at them because they're a bit more of a powerful unit. Maybe we should concentrate on that. They, on the other hand, in their turn, they can assault us. And assaults can be really kind of wild things. So I think they're going to fire at them there. Fire at the militia. Okay, Rangers firing at militia. Let's see if the Rangers can... that looks pretty good. We've scored 7 and they've got 3. So that actually means that we have doubled them. Yes, so we've eliminated them. Okay, there we go. Back in the opaque cup. Okay. Rangers have done their bit. And that means, yeah, the only thing left is these. So they can move and fire, can't they? Yeah, they can move and fire. So they could, let me think about that, because they could, the Humvee could drive down to here and fire at them, or it could drive down to here and fire at the technical. But then that would put it in a space that was adjacent to the enemy. Yeah, they could fire at it. You can't close assault a vehicle or assault a vehicle. And there's an RPG there, so we definitely don't want to go down there. No. And we could come down here, but then we could be fired on. We could be fired on by 4 units, so that sounds a bit grim. So I think they're going to stay where they are, so that means that's actually the end of the UN action phase. And yes, we have in fact embarked the prisoners. Okay, great. So now it's the UN relief phase, where we decide whether or not we're going to roll a die and see if we can get some kind of convoy action going in a useful place. And let's see what we get. Let's do it. Okay, well, we've got 1. So at least the worst result would be if, it was happening in just all 4 corners, as it were, of the map. So we've got 1, so that means that we could place a convoy. Now, the interesting thing is with the convoy, they are the sort of super weapon, as it were. So what you do is you come out of the UN base. Now, this particular base has got 2 exits, as we can see. And if there's anything in your way, you just get rid of it. So you would remove that S&A counter there, and you would remove the roadblock counter there. In the case of a roadblock, you don't then put the convoy. You just pick up that lot, and that's it. That's your go. Now, the interesting thing about that is that although it wouldn't be building a convoy, if I put one there, we could start doing this sort of thing, and then that would be a nice way to get out of jail free, as it were, to get out of Dodge. They could, for example, they could go, oh, we're not going to go down there. No, we're going to go up there, that way. So if I started building it there, but the problem is, of course, is that the only way I can keep building it is if I keep rolling a 1, or if I roll a 5 or a 6, you can put it anywhere you like. Right, so I'd have to roll that, a 5 or a 6 or a 1. So it means the odds would be 50-50. Yeah, they would, wouldn't they? They'd be 50-50 that I would be able to put it, I'd be able to make this chain. So if I put 1 there, that's a tempting target there. Okay, but it's really only 1 unit. And look, there are loads of units, so what difference does that make? So if instead I put it there, then that would mean that there would be a 50-50 chance on the next turn that I could put another one there. And remember, all you have to do is enter that space. And as soon as you do that, your forces pick them up and you put them safe and sound, if you want to, safe and sound into the UN base. So it's a great way to get out of Dodge. I think that's the logical thing to do, actually. So I am, in fact, going to try to start building a convoy. So I place that there, and that means that this will cost a victory point, so to speak. So there it is. It's an unblocked exit, so it can go there. So that's because it's on the map and not inside a base. That's a victory point right there. That's a negative victory point for me. Okay. As I've probably described in too much detail. Let's see. Check for mission completion. No, it certainly isn't complete. So we're only on the 3rd turn. The thing is there's a lot going on in each turn. I mean, of course, yes, if you're playing some huge game like, the Russian campaign or get a bit more contemporary, Jeff. Normandy 44 by GMT Games, or one of my favourites, Battle of the Bulge, 81 version by Avalon Hill. If you're playing a game like that, then yes, you've got a huge map with hexagons all over the place, hundreds and thousands even of hexagons, and, possibly hundreds of units in stacks all over the place. So yes, there's a lot going on in a turn, but this is great. There's a lot going on, and I love the number of decisions that you have to make, different sort of tactical strategies that you can use. And the behavior, of course, it's very nicely dovetailed in with the historical situation. We're in the middle and we're surrounded by the enemy, and they just keep coming and coming and coming at us. So it's not like some sort of very delicately designed linear defense is being held as we unfold the events of, I don't know, the War of the Spanish Succession, or something like that, with Marlborough doing a feint in this direction and Prince Eugene going, and this sort of thing. No, it's not like that. We're basically in the middle and they're coming at us from every direction. But it is working very well. The actions of the enemy are working very well, and I'm very happy with it. And there we are. We're at turn 4. And we've had the Somali reinforcement phase, so we had a roadblock appear, and then we had the reinforcements, and a great number of them have come on down in this region here. And okay, so that's the situation that now presents itself. We now have the UN air support phase, and I know I've kind of blown back and forth on this sort of thing. Should they be pre-designated? There's nothing in the rules that says they should be pre-designated, so I'm going to say no, they don't have to be pre-designated. So the first attack is going to go in on this this technical down here. So you just roll the old D6, hoping for high. And we've got a 5. I think that's pretty promising. Yes, that's an elimination. That'll do nicely. Thank you very much. Into the old opaque cup for you, my friends. Right. And so now we've got another shot we can take. And so I'd like to get some bang for the buck. So we've got 2 here, and they are sort of 1-2 spaces away from us, our main sort of our main precious cargo. And then we've got 1-2 there. Here we've got 1-2 could get to there, because remember that's a casualty there, which is also a precious cargo. They are only 1 space away, but they are pinned, so they can't do anything this turn except recover from being pinned. So I think we're going to go for CB. I think we're going to go for them. Right, okay, so you roll a die for each unit. So we'll start off with the RPG. And we rolled a 3, so they are pinned. Okay, there we go, pinned. And then the militia, we rolled a 2, and that still counts, doesn't it? Yeah, they're pinned. Right, okay, well done. Well done, the chaps in the H6 Little Birds. Yes, marvellous. You see, 2 of those. Yeah, no, 1, 2, so we got to do that twice. That's how that works, UN air support. So now we're off to the Somali action phase. Okay, so we're doing the Somali action phase, and I've marked 2 units that we're going to do first. I'd forgotten about that. Technical down there. Sloppy commander. So he's not an instant threat. What can he do? He can move, but he can't move into a position where he can fire from just yet. Anyway, so we do technicals first. Can he fire? No, he can't. So can he move? Can he move then fire? No, he can't. But he's going to move and try and close in on the action. So we're going to move him, I would think, to this position, and he's going to come down here eventually. So he's moved, and he can't fire. If there was somebody there, he could fire at them, or if there's somebody on either side of the street, he could fire at them, but not so much this turn. Not so much. Down here, we've got the RPG, and they can fire across the street. So if you look across the street, it's National Street. That particular segment of National Street there, which is that long, includes that unit there. Or, well, I say unit, I meant that sector. Okay, so he would fire at the strongest unit, so he would fire actually at the D boys. So we've got some fire combat going on here, so we'll indicate that he has fired. We can get rid of that, and off we go. And no, he's clearly scored less than us, so therefore there was no effect from the shooting there. Right, so now how about RPG movement? I'll just do that and we'll come back to the action. Okay, we've done the RPG movement. They're closing in as usual. And now we've got the snipers. Can any snipers fire? Well, we have this sniper unit here. They can certainly fire across the street at the Ranger Chalk there. So they're going to do that. So let's roll that up, see what we get. And let's see, he's lost. Okay, so that means it was merely desultory fire. So, bing, hit the woodwork or something like that, and 'twas but a scratch. Now we do the movement of all those snipers who couldn't fire. Okay, we've moved the snipers, and now we're on to SNA infantry. Can any SNA infantry fire at us? And indeed, there is one unit that can. These chaps down here, they're keen as mustard. And they're going to be firing across the street at the highest value target, which is the Delta Team unit there. And here we go. And, well, they've scored 6, and we have scored... now that's an interesting result, because I believe we're pinned. Yes, they've got 2 plus 4 is 6, and we've got 5 plus 1 is 6, which is equal, and that means we are pinned. Right. There we go. I said they were as keen as mustard. Well, we haven't moved. No, we don't rotate, but we are pinned, and they have... We rotate them to indicate that they've done their bit for the cause for this turn, yeah, so now it's time to move the SNA units which did not fire. Alright, so we've moved the SNA units which did not fire. As usual, they're just closing in. And now it's time to fire with any militia that have targets. And there's just the one unit here, which, I mean, there are others, but I mean, that one's pinned, for example, and they're pinned, so they can't fire. So, right, so that unit there. Now, interesting position that they're in, because they can fire across the street at Delta, both those Delta teams, or either of, I should say, or they could fire this way across the street at the Delta team there and the Ranger Chalk there. They have to fire at the highest value targets before the others, and they would also have to fire at unpinned units before they fired at pinned units. So they're not going to fire at them, low value. They're not going to fire at them because they're pinned. They're going to fire across the street at Delta. So let's say they're going to fire at one of them, and it's a bit of a wing and a prayer, this thing, but I mean, they're as keen as mustard. So let's see what we get out of this one. And, ooh, interesting result. Okay, so we've got the militia ended up with 6, and, oh, well, the Delta team ended up with 7 anyway. So, yeah, it's a bit of an uphill struggle. So they fired, but it was desultory fire. And the Delta boys kept their heads down and all that sort of thing. So now it's time to move militia units which did not fire, and then unpin units that were pinned. Okay, and useful safety tip here, useful safety tip to all wargamers is at times like this, I'm about to do a sort of a bit of a tangled, complex move, and so what I do is I take a photograph of the situation before I do it, so in case I have to attempt some sort of species of reset and put pieces back where they were before. Of course, you couldn't do that in a 2-player game. Good Lord, no. You move a piece and let go of it, and that's where it is. But in a 1-player game, hey, this is my game, and it's my wargame room and everything. So, yes, it's the US. It's the US. Sorry. It's the UN action phase. And although, of course, it is the case, yes, that I think I mentioned it before, that, of course, today, what's in front of us here, it is indeed US forces, although the relief convoy coming from over here is, I believe, those were the Pakistani chaps, I think. Right, so, now the thing that has occurred to the sharp-eyed observer, I'm sure, is that on the previous turn, I believe the vehicles... Actually, I can't remember if they were there. Were they there or were they there? I can't remember. Because, of course, if they had been there, one of them could have come down here and picked up the prisoners, and the other one could have continued on to this position here. That would have been 2 actions, so they wouldn't have been able to do anything else, but they would have started there. Anyway, is this going to work? The idea that's been cooked up by the commander is that we want to try to head for that relief convoy there. Because if you go from here, for example, you can go 1, 2, 3, and you're there. Okay? If that were not there, it would take you 4 to get to the base. Okay? And if we're lucky, as we did the math earlier, there's a 50-50 chance that we might be able to put another one of those there next turn, or rather in this turn in the UN relief phase. So anyway, so what we're going to do is the thing with the prisoner counter is worth negative 100 victory points. In other words, if you don't bring home the bacon, you don't bring home the prisoners, you've lost. So what we're going to do is there are no RPGs in the vicinity up here. There is that one there. And let's see, in one turn he could move to there. But yeah, because I'm thinking, see, the thing is, the prisoners are there, and they can right now, they can go 1, 2 and end up there. So they'd be in here, but that would mean that in their turn they could move. Well, they would move. The RPG would move to there, ready to fire at it next turn, but it wouldn't be able to fire at it yet. Okay, so and heaven help us if. they're able to execute a successful attack on the Humvee that's carrying the prisoners, and they're destroyed, because that would mean negative 100 victory points, and we've certainly lost at that point. Anyway, well, let's see what we can do. So now this becomes a bit of a puzzle, of course, because you've got the stacking limits here. So we have to sort of, I'll put that there, and then I'll put that there, and I'll move him here, and I'll move him here, because that's the only way to do it. Otherwise, you end up with this sort of traffic jam. So the other thing we have to keep in mind is that we've got these poor chaps down here from Black Hawk Down. We've got a casualty counter here that we have to rescue. And the only way to move that counter in this game, the only way to move that or the prisoners, is if you load them up, and they've got to be passengers on a vehicle. Okay, so we're going to take the spare vehicle, which is this one here. We could take one of those. I mean, they could come down here, but we couldn't load them up in the same turn. Okay, so I'm going to, whoops, there we go. They are going to go one down to Howlwadak Street, and they're going to load up the casualty. Near as I can remember, the casualty has no sort of stacking value in the vehicle, but it doesn't matter anyway. Even if it's one, the vehicle can carry 3, and I'm going to load up. Am I going to do that? I don't know if I am going to load up the Caesar, because if I do, that would mean no one can fire at them this turn. I don't think I will, actually, so I think I'll just load up the casualty. There we go. So that's an embarkation action. So now that means that Humvee has completed it's used 2 actions. Right, okay. And, well, I'll just leave that there as a sort of bit of atmospheric dressing so we know where the Black Hawk went down. Okay, now they've done that, so now the prisoners are here. Let's see if we can find the prisoners. There they are. And they can move, if they're just going to drive, they can move 2 spaces. But they can't go into there, because I remember there was a question specifically asked on Board Game Geek, which essentially touched on, I don't know if it was with vehicles, I think it was probably with infantry, but it did touch on the subject of overstacking during movement. And, of course, it seems to me, most war games, you'll have stacking limits that have to be satisfied at the end of the movement of that unit. But you could temporarily exceed the stacking limits as you moved pieces about. So in other words, we'd be able, even though there's a stacking limit of 2 units here, we've got this unit here. If we go 1, 2 like that, in most games, it seems to me, you would be able to do that because you only temporarily had 3 in here. But in this, they're a bit, the rules are a bit more of a stickler, and it's like, no, there's going to be a traffic jam there, not allowed. Okay, so therefore we can't move them into there until we get someone out of there to make room for us to move into it, which is, fine, we can do it. Okay, so now we've got the truck, which is terribly vulnerable, of course, and has no firepower. Or we've got the Humvee. And why are we moving it down here in the first place? Well, we've got a lot of people that could walk back to base, but we don't want them to have to do that. So I believe we're going to move the truck down, because I don't like the truck being stuck out here by itself, not being able to fire. So let's see, the truck can go, it can't go into there if Caesar is still there. So it could go into there. So it's going to go 1 into here, and that's it. Done. And then it could additionally, no, the only thing it do, that's right, no, it can do 2 actions. Now as a second action, then it could load up somebody from a neighboring building block sector. So that's and a truck can carry 5 units, so 1, 2, 3, 4, all 4 of those units could pile onto the truck at that point, which is an interesting concept, something I hadn't really thought of. Let's see. That is a compelling idea, isn't it? The problem then, of course, is that they're all in the truck. The truck has an armor factor of only 2, so highly vulnerable, yes. It doesn't feel right to me that we would do that at this stage. We've got to sort of do something to sort of push these people back, perhaps. Let me think about that. I think I'm going to do this. I've actually loaded Caesar onto the Humvee there, and I'm going to have the truck go 2 spaces, so it's ready to pick these chaps up. Okay, there we go. Can't pick them up because it's already done 2 actions. Yes. And as far as that Humvee there, one of the things about having the vehicles in the street is it means that the enemy can't they can't occupy the same space. Neither a vehicle nor infantry can move into that space. Okay, so it is sort of keeping it clear, as it were, and also they have, because we want to try and keep the road clear, and also I was going to say they have they have firepower. Yes, they can shoot. Right. So now the thing is what are we going to do with these chaps here? Are they going to move to here, or are they going to move to here? If they move to there, they can plink away at them with their anti-armor factor of 0, which won't be terribly effective. They can fire, but because you know, let's see. And let's see, they could fire. So if they move 1, 2 down there, they could be fired on by them, but they can fire at them before they get to have a chance to fire. And I can even shoot at them with the helicopters as well before they have a chance to do that. So, but I will also need to be doing that down here at this RPG down here as well, won't I? Yeah, because if I move to there, he'll move to there. And I have nothing to put up against that RPG unit except the helicopters. Yes. Ugh. Right. Huh. Interesting. And if I only move them to there, let's see. There are no more RPGs in the immediate neighborhood. Well, there's that one there. What am I saying? They can move to there. So in their turn, both those RPG units could move to there. Yeah. Okay, I think we're gonna bolt for this direction here. So right. Yeah. So they're gonna move 2 spaces. Move up to there. There we go. They're trying to get home. Okay. Right. Okay, let's see. We've been giving it some thought in terms of what to do where, and all that sort of thing. So, well, yeah, like no kidding. Right. Anyway, first up, what do we got? I think we're going to have the Rangers here are going to take a pot at those chaps there and see what they can accomplish. Oops, there we go. So we got 4 and 4, right? So that means we have got 8 against 6. So we've scored a pin. Okay, and they've done their bit. And then these Rangers here, I've decided, are going to simply move into that space there, keep them company, because they're of course, they're in danger of being assaulted. And then this Ranger here, I was considering moving him to here, but then that would mean no one could fire on them. So he can be assaulted by them and them. And I think he's going to fire at them. Okay. And we've done very well there by the look of it. We've scored 10, they've scored 3, so they are eliminated. There we go. Let's get a bit closer, I think. Right. Okay. And yeah, I was looking at a lot of, should the Delta team here, for example, should they move into the street ready to be able to be sort of picked up in the next turn? There's actually no point in doing that, because in the next turn, the truck, for example, if that was what I was going to do, the truck could move to there. The thing is, you don't have to be in the street with the vehicle. You can be picked up from a neighboring building block. So if the truck moved 1 to there, it could pick up them. They could board it, and that would be the end of the actions. But so they don't have to leave. They don't have to spend a turn going into the street, as it were. And if they were in the street, it also mean they could be assaulted by them. So blah, 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 blah. Okay. So instead, they're just going to try and pick off the people who are closest and most dangerous. We don't like the look of that RPG unit there. So let's fire that first with one of the Delta teams. Okay. Not so good this time by the look of it. We've scored 7 and they have 6. So we did pin them. Okay, that's good. They are pinned. Splendid. Here's our Delta team. Then we've got one more shot, so we could fire again at the RPG to try and sort of close the case. But we do have 2 units here. There's this one and this one, which can close assault us. So that's definitely a consideration. And this one's worth 2, not merely 1. So we could also fire on that if we wanted to. I think we're going to do that, actually. We're going to fire on the S&A unit there, see what we can do. Right, so that looks good. We've got 10, and they have a total of 5, which is doubled. So that means they are eliminated, and they have done their bit. Okay. Let's see. This Delta team here, its action is going to be recover from being pinned. So that's that action done. Essentially, all we've got left now is the Humvee here, which can fire. So we will do that. And we've got the Ranger chalk here. So let's see, they could fire into National Street and try to take out the militia unit there, which can do an assault if he's still there next turn. He hasn't been savaged by the H6 little birds. Or he could fire across the street at the stronger unit, which is more of a concern probably. Or he could move. What could he do? He could board the truck. Technically, yes, he could. Well, yes, no, he couldn't. Sorry, no. The truck has already done 2 actions. It went 1, 2. So it can't, as an action, be doing an embarkation. No, it can't. No. Right. So therefore, they can fire. I think I'm going to have them fire at the S&A unit there. See what they can do. Come on, Rangers. And they've done well. So they've scored a total of 8, and the enemy has a total of 3. So they have eliminated the enemy there. Okay, they've done their bit. And then finally, the Humvee up there, which has got a firepower of 2. So let's see. It can fire pinned S&A or S&A. And up here, we've got a sniper, which I don't care very much about. And probably famous last words. And then a militia unit. Okay. I think we're going to go for the stronger S&A unit there. We've got a firepower of 2, which is pretty awful. Yeah, it's the same as them, so it'd be yeah, not so hot. Oof. Let's fire at that militia unit over there, which has a firepower of 1. Okay, looks like we might be okay. We scored 7, and they've scored 6, so we've beat them, so therefore they are pinned. We've done our thing, and that means we've done all the UN forces, and so now it's time to look at the relief convoy, and we are going to roll. This might cost us a victory point depending on where this ends up. Let's see what we get. Right, we get 3, which is all the way down over here. So we can put a relief convoy counter on there if we want to, or we could choose not to. I think the only reason not to would be if there's a danger of there being a shortage of them. But I can't imagine, I don't think I will, because I can't imagine, it would be hard to imagine a situation where the day is going to be saved by having a relief convoy down there. So I think I'm going to skip that, actually. Check for mission completion. No, it's not complete, so we carry on to turn 5. Well, here we are in turn 5. We've done the roadblock and we've done the S&A replacements, and by golly, things are livening up here. Because as soon as you load up your Humvees or your truck, whatever, the transport, with these particularly valuable units that you have to get to the UN base, especially the prisoners, which are, of course, over here, then it becomes one heck of a target. And we've got a technical here. We're about to do the UN air support phase, so we're going to be choosing the targets for the H6 little birds. And so we get a technical here. Now, of course, technical can move and fire. I kept on going on about them, but they're not a threat because they could move to here, but they can't fire in the same phase. So they're not a worry in this turn, but they are, because very much so. They can move to there and they can fire. And that's their anti-armor factor there is 2. And the anti-armor defense on the Humvee is 4. So it definitely could go either way. So that is definitely going to be a target for one of the helicopter strikes. And because, as I say, if the prisoners are captured by the enemy or if they're destroyed, you lose the engagement. You've lost the game. So therefore, I'm going to fire at them with the helos, and if they don't destroy that technical, or at least pin the technical, they're going to fire at it again. Okay, if they take care of it on the first go, then I think what I'm going to do is fire at this technical here, because this technical is in a similar situation. They can drive down National Street to the corner here, and then they can fire into... never can remember it. It's not an easy name to remember. Howlwadak Street, and they could fire at, well, they're going to fire at the highest value target, which is going to be the Humvee here. So don't like the sound of that. So hopefully we can bag them with 2 helicopter strikes. Yeah, we'll see about that. Right, so off we go. First is going to be at that technical there. We're hoping for a high number. And we've rolled a 2, which is at least a pin, if I remember. Yes, it's a pin. So that means we won't have to worry about the technical this turn. I think we'll go with that. Yeah, well, sorry. Well, I mean, we have to take that. We don't have an option. We've pinned them. The question is, do we fire again at them? If we fire at them again, we have a good chance, perhaps, of destroying them. And actually, yeah, because they're already pinned, they would be destroyed on anything except a 1. But then that would do nothing to them, and they would definitely be able to... They would move down here and open fire on them, and I don't like the sound of that. So I think we're going to have to spread ourselves a bit thin instead and fire on this technical down here with the second strike from the little birds. And there we go. That's what we want to see. We've rolled a 5, which is an elimination. Right, so these chaps go back in the old box. And interestingly enough, I didn't mention that now they're in the opaque cup, but they're the only ones in there. Everybody else is in play. All the Somali forces are in play at this point, apart from 1 technical. Okay, so that's the... UN air support done, and now we go to the Somali action phase. Okay, so you do the technicals first. Technicals pinned, so that's him dealt with. Then we move on to RPGs. There are actually no RPG units that can fire at this particular point in time. So this unit here, the closest enemy unit that it can move to, and it's going to go for the highest value. So it could move to there, or it could move to there. And let's be mean to me. Let's make it tough, and I'm going to move them to there. They can't fire, of course, as we've established, but at least they're hovering around there and making a general nuisance of themselves. And I say, I mean, so they should. Now, I'm just thinking about that because we know full well that in their turn they're going to move on to that counter and disappear, because they're going to disappear into the base and they're home free. Okay, so he would actually possibly make more of a nuisance of himself if instead he moved from there to there, but that's sort of like, that's making the enemy think 2 turns ahead, as it were. I could roll the die and decide, does it go here, does it go there, because I'm not sure that the rules really state, because, in both cases, if they go to there, they're next to a vehicle. If they go to there, they're next to a vehicle. The vehicle is the same strength in both cases. On the surface of it, that's a higher value target. Not technically, but I mean strategically, as it were, it's a higher value target. But I don't know. I'll leave it there. Okay, fine. So now other RPG units. There's an RPG unit here that they can't fire because they're pinned. Oh, wait a minute. There's an RPG unit there that can fire. Technically, I should have done that first, but it really doesn't make any difference. So certainly they can fire. They have no vehicles to fire at. So they're going to fire at the highest value unit. They're going to fire across the road at Delta over there. There's no value. They're both the same. No value question, I should say. So off they go. And right. So they have scored 5. We have scored 8. So that means it was a miss. So we'll just indicate that they have fired. There we go. Okay. And now it's just down to moving those RPG units that can't fire. I'll do that